get going.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners Extraordinary Session. It is March 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. This time I'd request that if you have a cell phone or any other electronic devices, you put it so that it will not make noise. I'd like to ask Pastor Zachary Holmes from the Grace Paradise Fellowship Baptist Church and the Griffin Spalding Board of Education member to deliver the invocation, and then Commissioner James Dutton from District 2 to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Can I get an alternate to do the play it? No, I'm just kidding. How you doing, James? Let us pray. Lord God, we come once more and again in no other way that we know how. We come with bowed head, humbleness in our heart. Father God, we ask right now that you lead, guide our our county commissioners to make decisions that's going to be beneficial to all that's concerned. And we just pray, Lord God, that we continue to do things for all of our citizens and try to do our best in making decisions that would benefit them. And Lord God, please bless our commissioners, bless their families for the time and effort that they give in serving others. And this in Jesus' name we do pray. Let every heart say amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add an additional item to new business. I would like to request an amendment to the agenda to include consideration of issuing an RFP for a forensic audit to conduct a thorough review and examination of all checking, savings, investment, money market, and financial holding accounts of any kind to examine the records to locate and identify any funds. This audit is necessary due to located funds more than reported in our fund balance and due to a separate recent incident involving missing funds from the tax commissioner's office, leading to criminal charges against an employee in that office. I will request that this be placed on the agenda as item number 5 under new business.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Thank you. Item number 4, public hearing. There is no public hearing tonight. Please do not confuse that with citizen comments, which there will be. Presentations and proclamation. Presentation from Judge Ott from the Juvenile Court regarding the annual report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'll be very, very brief. Hopefully you have in your packet the annual report from 2023 from the Spalding County Juvenile Court. Here with me is our Chief Probation Officer and Clerk of Court, Ms. Sybil Jones, and Jonathan Noums joining me. The report's self-explanatory. I appreciate the opportunity just to say good evening. I appreciate your support of the Juvenile Court and our mission in that court. There's been some exciting legislation passed this time that I think will further benefit the families and the juveniles that we serve. If you have your report, you'll see that summarizes the number of cases. In a particular interest might be starting on page 7 would be the types of charges that we are dealing with in juvenile court, broken down by the charges so that you could have an idea of what we are seeing and what we are addressing. So I don't want to belabor the point. I think it's a well-prepared report, and we are here if you do have questions by any chance.
This is, Judge, this is a pretty good news story for us.
Well, thank you.
I mean, it's going in the right direction, and the kinds of things we want to see are happening, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We are all working very hard, and the community is engaging with us. We are finding new partners pretty much every few months, and then we're happy to explore those opportunities. So,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Judge Ott, thank
Yes.
you for coming. What resources, no, that's not what I want to ask you. I'm going to ask you that, but is there some sort of assessment that happens with each case for you to determine whether or not mental health or behavioral health counseling is needed?
That is not, we do not have the resources to do that in every case. Typically, and unfortunately, it is the more serious cases in which we are able to obtain those evaluations.
Okay, so it's not a normal, so we don't really know that that is a factor in a lot of these cases, which we know that that's a factor.
do.
But I did not see anything in the governor's budget this year that addressed mental health on a juvenile level at all. And so I'm just wondering, how do you determine, because clearly if someone comes in and says that this kid doesn't do what his mom says, there is a reason. And how can you guys try to fix it if you're working against a diagnosis that you don't know? So that was,
Absolutely, and one of the things we do have to rely on is such as Mr. Nims and Judge Ashman has joined us, very good, and their experience over the years, because they briefly meet the juvenile and their family, try to make an assessment based simply on their experience. Where we would see the mental health evaluations, those more formal evaluations come through the Department of Juvenile Justice generally. And then the monster state agency of behavioral health, DBHDD, does provide, that's who would provide the services to the
Right.
juveniles. So if I order a psychological evaluation, mental health evaluation, then that is who then would pick that up. It's often a struggle. Who's going to pay? I can order it all
Yeah.
day long, but who's going to pay for that evaluation? So again, as we look to partner, one of the, a gentleman I met with last week is retired psychologist, has also been a professor, and brought this exact question. Now, he's looking at neurodiverse youth. Can we identify initially the right path mental health-wise for a youth? We do have programs to look at the family, but to look at the mental health of the youth, because there is a reason for each of the offenses that we see.
right, so you have the capability to order the parents to go in the counseling and not really know who's gonna pay for that?
I can, whether we order the child or a parent, it is difficult in juvenile court to order parents to do very much. It's
Yeah,
a very
it's-
long process.
The chairman and I have been kind of championing, I'm saying mental health, but I hate that word because it's just like saying physical health. Either you got something wrong with your eye or your stomach or your foot, or either you have depression or you have anxiety. We're not giving a name to it, and I'm just very disappointed that the state didn't see fit to offer more money for you guys to be able to do, either hire somebody to help you to be able to do that, because I think that's pretty critical in just getting you from point A to B with them. And thank you for everything that you guys do.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other comments or
I've got a
questions?
question.
Yes.
Little confused about the supervision fee collections and disbursements, and maybe I'm just not familiar with
Can you
it.
talk to the mic, get the mic?
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
I can.
Okay, just not sure about the supervision fee collections and disbursements. I'm not quite understanding. I'm looking at the last.
Sure.
Page 18 here, where there's fees being paid out. Can you just example of what that entails?
Certainly, certainly. So one of the vehicles that juvenile courts allowed to use to fund programs is called the supervision fees. So when we place a juvenile on an informal adjustment or on probation, then we can assess a fee to supervise that juvenile. It has been generally our idea that those fees should not be the burden on a family. And I would say, I believe this past year, we assessed in the entire year maybe $1,300. And what we look at is, say, $25. It just should not be the burden on a family. That is not the purpose of the supervision fees. So then when we are able to pay for that would be, for example, if we need to have law enforcement to help us with community service, to be present, that's an expense we could pay. if we were to host, for example, Mr. David Johnson has partnered with us, and he needed to kind of get started. So we were able to buy the program materials for his first couple of classes, which he is expanding his mentor program. He has had in the schools. He's now just finished his first session for us. So for example, that's what we could spend them on.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you for that. It's an explanation.
Certainly.
Any other questions? Thank you, Judge. We truly appreciate what you do on a day-to-day basis to make our county better and to take care
And
of
your
the
staff.
young people in there.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's really the magic, is with the hardworking people in juvenile court. I invite you all, come down and see us. Come down and see us. I do appreciate the support, and Dr. Ledbetter's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
For those of you that were going through the agenda, the chairman was moving a little too quickly, so he will back up now and ask if we can get the presentation of financial statements for the month ending February 29th. Ms. Dye?
That's okay. I didn't mind the momentary break. Good evening.
Good evening.
The following presentation will provide a brief overview of the county's unaudited financial activity for fiscal year 2024 as of February 29th. It will include revenue collections, expenditures, and encumbrances for the general fund and the fire fund budgets. As of February 29th, 2024, we have completed 8 months, or 67% of the 2024 budget year. General fund revenues totaled $59,182,878, or 88% of budget. General fund expenditures and encumbrances total $40,562,522, or 61% of budget. The fire district revenues for February total $9,397,902, or 73% of budget. Our district expenditures and encumbrances total $11,472,360, or 90% of the budget. Next slide, please. As of February 29th, for fiscal year 2024, revenues are up 19% from last month, and expenditures have only slightly increased 6%. We are making efforts to keep our expenses low so that we do not exceed our revenue budget for FY24. Next slide, please. We'll review the summary of revenue sources. The county has collected $44.9 million in taxes, which accounted for 78% of the total taxes received. These taxes include $31.8 million in real property tax, also public utility tax, motor vehicle, ad valorem, tax and title fees for personal property, local option sales tax, and other miscellaneous taxes. Intergovernmental revenues totaled $7.7 million, comprising 13% of total reported revenue. These revenues are from local, state, and federal sources, including Georgia Highway Safety Grant, VOCA grants, DOT reimbursements, FEMA, Boost, and other grants. The county also has collected $3.2 million in charges for services as of February 29th, including fees from the probate court, inmate housing reimbursement, recreation, recording, and indirect cost. Miscellaneous revenue for February is $1.4 million, including reimbursements for resource officers, CI and Sheriff Department inmate phone charges, and inmate phone commissions. Fines and forfeitures generated $1.2 million, or 2.1% of total revenue from court fines. The next slide will show you a summary of expenditures and encumbrances for the general fund. 59.7%, or $24 million, is for personnel and employee benefits. 30.4%, or $12.3 million, is for purchases and contractual services like radio and computer equipment maintenance, dues and subscriptions, education and training, and election expenses, circuit court budget, telephone, postage, and auto and truck maintenance. 8.6%, or $3.4 million, is for supplies, which includes office and departmental supplies, utilities, uniforms, and fuel. And finally, a snapshot of the Spalding County bank accounts that will show you the totals of all checking and investment accounts as of February the 29th. On July the 1st, 2023, all the accounts showed a balance of $59,649,549. By February 29th, the combined total has grown, which includes the water department, for a total of $80,865,958, representing a $21 million growth since the start of the fiscal year. This concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to try to answer any of your questions.
Fund balance, order of magnitude? Excuse me.
Roughly,
The 12,174,607 is fund balance.
that is correct. That's in the general fund investment account.
Okay.
And I noticed debt services, I think that one slide, we were at 2.19%.
Yes, the debt services includes the vehicles,
So we're trending down on that,
the
right?
financial costs for John Deere and equipment and machinery.
Do we anticipate, I guess we do anticipate that to increase, I guess.
We do,
Okay.
with added vehicles.
What about the debt service on the T-Splost? Didn't we bond? Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't we bond
Yes.
the first $10
We
million
did.
or so for the
Yes,
project?
yes.
So where are we on paying that debt service? If you don't have it, you can get it.
I don't currently have that information for
Well,
you.
that's
I'll
okay.
have to get it to you at a later date.
We are doing quite well on debt services for the T-Splost, as well as revenue generated for the T-Splost. We're trending above what the expectation was.
Very good.
Good, good. You continue to knock it out of the park, Ms. Dye. We appreciate the briefing and how short and concise it is and able for us to understand it. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
He wasn't looking at me. Erica, can you find out for us, I know this is before you got here, but when we first started with the airport, I think we all needed $6 million. So is it $6 million, Rita? So, and the
Bonded
city,
7.
Oh, you mean
Bonded
in the
7.
very beginning of the bond, yeah.
we bonded 7. Okay, so, and where are we on the debt service for that? I thought at first the city paid it and we were to
They
pay
did.
them back.
We are, that's exactly
We are,
correct. will
yes,
reach
we are
across-
still paying them back.
We will reach across the city and get a final indication for where we are.
Yeah, I mean, because if we're still paying it, I would like to know that. And then it's been 5 or 6 years, so I'm wondering how we're paying it and how much of the debt has been paid off.
We'll be more than happy to
I'll be
get that
happy
for
to
you.
get you that
So
information
that would not be
tomorrow.
part of the 2.19% then? Okay.
Say that again.
Can y'all hear me? Can y'all not hear me talk?
Did you answer?
I did.
Okay.
Okay.
thank you. All right,
All right.
anything else for
No.
Ms. Dye? Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Eric.
you.
At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Johnny McDaniel to come
approve,
forward
please.
and,
Motion.
Motion to approve,
oh,
please.
excuse me.
Motion to accept the financial
Yes, ma'am.
report
Thank
as
you.
presented.
I have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Now, at this time, Mr. Johnny McDaniel will please come forward and give a presentation on the Tax Assessor Board and what's going on with all of that.
Chairman Davis, Commissioners, Dr. Ledbetter, I'm sure it was just a simple twist of fate that we get to follow the financial report. But be that as it may, we're here. We kind of wish we weren't called a board of tax assessors because we don't really assess the taxes, but we do have something to do with the tax bills. I'm Johnny McDaniel. I have with me Robbie Williams, who is our current interim chief appraiser. And if we can get this to work, I don't know if you can see this well or not, but I just wanted to bring you a little bit of an update on where we are with our staff. I'm sure Dr. Ledbetter and I have already had a conversation about filling vacancies, but we do have a 3-member board. And let me back up and say that one of the things we wanted to do with our quarterly update is to educate and update. And you have afforded us the best forum we have for bringing you information, but also getting information to the community. So some of this will be redundant to you, but we feel like it's information that needs to be passed on to the citizens. We have 2 new members on the board, Mr. Joe Bailey and Mr. Byron Pierce, and they're sitting in the peanut gallery. If they'd just stand up so you can see who they are.
Thank you for doing this.
In our last meeting, we elected Mr. Pierce to serve as vice chairman. If you'll notice, we have 9 approved positions at the Board of Assessors and the Appraisal Office. We currently have 6 bodies. That sound familiar to anybody? Not having enough bodies? First of those, and the most important, wrong button. First of those and the most important is that of chief appraiser. And we are working to try to find somebody who wants the job. We're not there yet, but we are still working on that. Robbie is serving as interim, and he has been doing a fantastic job in a learning situation. So we're glad we have him. And if you'll notice, we just lost an appraiser and the secretary to the board, and she was probably our primary administrative person. Then we have 3 slots for field appraisers. You notice that one of those is vacant. That leaves Mr. Brian Wright, and Heather Headley is the senior appraiser. Heather has been pretty much consumed by appeals. She handles all the appeals. She does all the legwork to get the information to support our position, and then she has to go to the hearings. And I think, did you bring those numbers? Yes. Okay, would you tell them the numbers?
Yeah, for 2023, we had 2,132 appeals. That's residential and commercial appeals. We worked our way down from 2,132. We've got about 300 that are pending right now. We've gone through just over, right at 1,800 appeals. And just going through these, when we set these up, typically for residential, we're scheduling about 20 appeals per day, 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon. And one of the things we wanted to look at, of the 2,132, the scheduling right now, we've got about an 85 to 90% no-show, meaning that if we schedule 20 in any given day, majority of the days you either have 2 or 3 appellants show up. There have been days when nobody shows up. So, I mean, at this point, there's nothing really our office can do. We make the forum available to them. If they choose to come, not to come, that's entirely up to them. But we do have about an 85 to 90% no-show on people coming or not coming.
And the bad thing about that is Heather has to prepare because she doesn't know if they're going to show or not. So she has to be totally prepared to defend the Board of Assessors position on the assessment that they're appealing. So, I did a little calculation today. That's about 275 days worth of work for her. So she's been out of pocket, so that leaves us down with 1 field appraiser, and I'll tell you why that's important.
Can I ask a quick question on that? So when someone cancels, which is back, she does the work, I understand that. Can they reschedule, or do you not allow being rescheduled?
You're allowed 1 reschedule.
Okay.
And
You have to ask for it.
we do have some of those,
Or
but by and
approve or
large,
something.
it's just people not showing up.
Yeah, you just no-show.
So
Which you should, I just want to make sure that.
you might be able to attribute that to the Facebook warriors. Anyway, I want to make sure, I know you know this, but I want to make sure the people in the audience and those watching at home understand this, that what we do is according to the laws of the state of Georgia. Those laws come from the legislature. They make all those laws, and sometimes they make sense. Then under the legislature is the Department of Revenue, and the Department of Revenue plays a very important role. They establish the rules and regulations for the way we evaluate property. They monitor and audit the different counties for compliance, and just as a FYI, we are scheduled for an audit probably in the August timeframe of this year. That happens once every 3 years, and we're up this year for that audit. And the other thing, and one of the important things that they do for us, is they train and certify the assessors, the appraisers, and also the Board of Equalization. Our guidelines come from Title 48, the OCGA. That's the law regarding revenue and taxation. And then everybody in the state of Georgia goes by the Georgia Appraisal Procedures Manual. And we are responsible for the appraisal of all real and personal property. Talk a little bit more about personal property later, but that's anything from a boat to a bookcase for a business. Georgia Revenue Code 4857 says that all property, personal and real, will be assessed uniformly and will be assessed at 40% of fair market value. There's some of the duties. I'm not going to go through and read all those to you. You can look at that, and I understand you have a copy of this in your package. You can see the things that are responsibilities. The one we didn't put up there, and that's my fault for not catching it, but we have to approve, not only do we have to approve homestead exemptions, but we also have to approve specialized assessments, which are conservation, brownfield, historic assessments that all have their own laws. And we also have to approve exemptions. And you would be amazed, I think last time we talked a little bit about that, but you'd be amazed to know that almost $800 million worth of property is not taxable in Spalding County. So that's, I hate to bring you all the bad news, but there it is. And we are responsible for the appraisal of all property categories, all individual parcels within Spalding County. And I'm going to let Robbie talk a little bit about this. You saw how we have one field appraiser right now. The good news is we have over 33,000 parcels in Spalding County. So we cannot go and touch each one of those, so we do a thing called mass appraisal. And I'm going to let Robbie talk a little bit about that. The down arrow.
Mass appraisal basically is just when you appraise a large number of properties. Anybody who's ever financed a house knows what a fee appraisal is, where an appraiser comes out and they're looking at one property. Mass appraisal is using a more efficient method of single-purpose appraisals. But it covers a mass area, meaning that we look at statistics. We use a computer-assisted mass appraisal system, which is a software where we can set up models, we can set up square footage models, those types of things that allow us to do mass appraisal. As Johnny said, there's like 33,000 parcels in Spalding County. The mass appraisal is basically based on certain quality control measures and statistical analysis. The results that we use, like Johnny said, they must be in compliance with Georgia law and Department of Revenue guidelines. The main statistic that we use, and you hear a lot of people talk about, is sales ratio. The sales ratio can be calculated, and that's one of the things we wanted to show. It's calculated not only on individual properties, but we can look at it, we can choose or pick a particular neighborhood or a pod or a neighborhood and calculate the sales ratio for any individual neighborhood. So, I'll let you hear.
Now, you've heard us talk about the term sales ratio ad nauseum. So I'm sure your question is, what in the world is sales ratio, and how do we come to that? So we're going to give you a little bit of background, then I'm going to show you some examples as to how it works. Georgia law says the value of tangible property shall be 40% of the fair market value. And fair market value is the basis for taxation because it depends so much on sales that have occurred in any given area. And the sales ratio is the relationship between the assessed value of the property and what the property may have sold for. State says we have a range for our sales ratio, and that range is from 36 to 44%. And we'll explain how those percentages are arrived at. But the number between, exactly in the middle, between 36 and 44 is 40. That is the ideal. And we'll look at that in just a little bit more detail here in a moment. But 40 is the magic number. That's where you ought to be. If you're below 40, your values are too low. If you're above 40, your values are too high. We hadn't been above 40. So how's it calculated? Let's take an example. You sold your house for $250,000. The tax assessor's office had the property valued at $220,000. And I hit the wrong arrow. All right. So the assessed value, the value that we have it set at, times 40%, and 40% is going to be the magic number through here, equals $88,000. The assessed value divided by the sales price, $250 into $88,000, yields the sales ratio. And you can see there on this particular situation, we are below where we should be on the sales ratio. Not far, but if you're not, it's not like horseshoes, close doesn't count. So it should be between 36 and 44. We're at 35.20, below where we should be. All right, the next one is an example of a house that sold for $475,000. We have it valued at $472,500. The assessed value, the value times 40%, is $189,000. You divide that by the sales price of $475,000, and that yields a 39.8%, much better. This is right almost where we should be if we're going to be perfect. Now, this next example I want to show you is kind of unique. I want you to look at the house before I show you the numbers. Any of you interested in buying this house? Okay, this house sold for $65,000. Wow. We had it valued at $45,500, which you may still think a little high. So that means the assessed value times 40% gives us a sale value of 18.2, and if you divide that by 45.50, we didn't put the calculations on this because this is going somewhere, but that would be 28%. So the same house 6 months later is remodeled and sold for $155,000. Doesn't even look like the same house, but our value is still $45,500. So that makes the assessed value $18,200. If you divide that by the sales price, and bear in mind, we can never predict the sales price. We don't know if somebody's going to pay too much or they're going to pay right on the money. So sales ratio is 11.7%. So we were way, way off on that one. Again, we need to be between 36 and 44. Ideal is 40. So any questions about sales ratio? You fully understand that better than I do.
No.
Where are we as far as right now? Like, where does Spalding County sit now?
Glad you asked that question. I'm going to show you the sales ratios as of January the 1st. This would have been including the winter quarter data. Residential, we're at 36.2. Okay, barely there, but there. The commercial, we're at 32.83. Really not close. With agriculture, we're at 37%, a little bit better, but still on the low end of the range. Industrial, 32.2. And when you combine all those, right now we're sitting at a 36.17 sales ratio. So let me just go ahead and say right now, I can't give you a number, but in all likelihood, there's going to be a value increase. Now, when we say there's going to be a value increase, it doesn't mean everybody's going to increase at the same number, but it means that probably there's going to be an increase. Now, what I want to suggest to you is that we come back either at the last meeting in the month of February or the first meeting in the month of May to give you a fairly good picture of what it's going to be like. I know you and everybody else, the people that you answer to, are dying to know what this information is if it's going to be a hammer or a feather. So we want to bring that information back to you so that you've got time to do whatever you can do to react to your constituents, and then everybody can start being prepared for what that increase might be. So we want to do that. If that's okay with you, we'll come back at your convenience, either the last meeting in April or the first meeting in May. By that time, we will have had an opportunity to analyze the first quarter sales data, and we'll have a pretty good idea of where we're going to have to go with it. So does that sound like a plan?
That's fair.
Okay.
But I do have a question, Johnny. I find it interesting that we're so far below on the commercial and industrial. How do we get to that place, or how do we fix that?
Well, one of the problems with that, in residential, you have lots of sales to compare with. But when you get down into industrial and commercial, you really don't have a lot of sales, so it can paint an ugly picture.
We don't have a lot of industrial, commercial, so to try to find sales is just hard to do. So we go back to where we originally were.
So I guess my next question would be, maybe it's been 8 or 10 years since we had a full county assessment where someone looked at every property. And I get it, I understand what the mass appraisal does. But I'd have to wonder that there's something that we have missed, because we're always saying industrial and commercial should be the meat. And we should be bringing a salad, with residential, taxes that are, so we're not getting what it is that we're telling people that we're getting from commercial and industrial. So it would be really nice to, I don't know if that means we need to have a full commercial and industrial property tax assessment, because how else do you get to do that if we know that we're basing it on the information for sales that are minimal?
Well, there's one way that we don't like to talk about, and that's a countywide reval. And that would bring everything up. It would cost you a lot of money, but it would bring everything up to the level that it should be for a new starting point, if you will.
But could
may
you,
remember the last time we did that.
well, and it was needed, because it had been 15 years. But could we not do a countywide eval for just industrial and commercial? Because those are gonna be a lot fewer parcels than the 33,000 residents we have. I mean, I'm just thinking biting that elephant one bite at a time, because that, for me, that really needs to be up. And if us being able to just, and I don't know how many, commercial and industrial parcels we have, but certainly it's a lot less than the residential.
I just checked with my guru, and he confirmed that we can do that, so we'll come up with a plan and bring that plan back to you.
That would be awesome.
I got one question also.
Yes.
So the 8 million that we're not getting, okay, these ones that are tax exempt, these tax exemptions, do we actually reevaluate those, or like on a yearly basis, or I probably can't do it every year, maybe every so many years, to see if they still qualify for that? That's a lot of money.
We try to do that. The biggest part of that is government property, city, county, school board property.
Churches.
And churches, and there's little you can do about those things.
Is that the whole makeup?
We do have an opportunity on occasion. It's hard to do, again, you got one field appraiser for 33,000 parcels. But we do try to keep an eye on that and find out, some of the charitable organizations cease to exist. And guess what? They don't always run up and tell you, hey, you can start taxing me at a different rate now. Sometimes churches cease to exist. So we do try to keep a hand on that. We try to make sure that if they have vacant property and they have long-range plans to build on that property, they still have to have some degree of activity on that property, whether it's prayer meeting, dinner on the grounds. They have to use it for some religious purpose periodically. So we try to keep a handle on that, but it's hard to catch all the small fish in a big net.
It's a lot of money.
I'm gonna say what nobody else will say. I understand about churches, but we also have Wellstar that used to be tenant that actually paid
Yep.
taxes in the community, and now they don't pay anything. So that's also a significant hit for us, but, and I know that we can't do anything about that
Absolutely.
either. I'm just, don't like it a lot. But, yeah, I'm all for us going back and
Think
trying
we
to look
should.
at that and see if we can recoup. So maybe the thing that we are telling people will actually be true.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it wasn't.
That's just a lot of money that we're not getting.
Yeah,
Can make a
and-
big difference.
The other thing, I was interested in the article about Dr. Ledbetter's sustainability project when he talked about the CUVA values on some very valuable land out along the AKB corridor. He's exactly right. There's a lot of revenue that we might possibly be bringing in if it weren't in CUVA. So that's another thorn in my side, but.
Okay.
All right, so what are we going to do? The things that we can focus on are continually analyzing and verifying sales data that we get. We can follow up on permits. I'm sure you find it hard to believe, but sometimes people do things on their property they don't get a permit for. So we're going to talk about a way that we can catch up on that here in a minute. New construction, we have to verify the percentage of completion periodically to see at what level we can value the property. We do neighborhood reviews, and neighborhood is not just like a few blocks around your house. A neighborhood is a geographic area, and we have 82 neighborhoods in Spalding County. And another thing we do is we keep an eye on properties that are for sale. And that's a good tool for us to make sure we're there. And then last but not least, site visits, over 33,000 parcels and growing. And Georgia code says that you're to review those once every 3 years to make sure your records are accurate. 33,000 parcels, at best 3 field appraisers. So I'm going to let Robbie tell you about something that we think is exciting that's going to facilitate our department as well as some other agencies in Spalding County.
Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, I mean, just looking at 33,000 parcels in the county, and by Georgia code, we're required to visit each one of those at least once every 3 years. And this is the Georgia code, and it basically states that each parcel should be reviewed at least once every 3 years to ascertain that the property information is correct. One of the things that we've done is, starting this year, actually, we've contracted with a company called Eagle View. What Eagle View does is they do high-resolution imagery and geospatial data. Basically, what that means is they take pictures, and you can use that imagery to measure the length, the height, square footage of apartments or buildings or residential structures. It provides sharp, current images to every parcel in the county. And it'll give us, and I'll show you an example, you can actually see the front, the 2 sides, and the rear of a property. So this is typically what we've worked with in the past. It's just basically a rooftop view, and you could go into our current system that's called QPublic, and anybody in the public can access this, and you would see a rooftop view of the building. What this will allow us to do is we can actually take this and we can see, well, this is the front of the building. You probably can recognize what the building is at that point. But we can also zoom in on the building. And if that was a house, we could go in and we could look and we could measure the the width of the house, the height of the house from the ground. We could take multiple measurements, plus it gives us a better idea if there's been any changes, if they changed the roof, did they add different type of siding or change the siding to the property. We can see if this was a residence, would be the rear. You could see if, say, a deck had been added or a room had been added to the back of the house, or perhaps a pool or something had been added. This is the east facing of the building, and this, like I say, we just kind of picked a property that everybody was familiar with. And you can see, using this, you can actually measure the square footage of this building. And then, of course, this is the west side of the building. Now, just imagine this. This would allow, you could go through a neighborhood and be able to sit and go through house by house, you know, sitting at your desk. But it allows direct comparison of properties. We can pull up our current system. We talked about wind gap on one computer, and on another screen have this, and we can just kind of go parcel to parcel or house by house, and making sure that any additions that have been made, anything that we need to pick up, and we can compare it directly to what we currently have. And that would be what we call parcel to parcel. That's what is required that we do once every 3 years, and this would actually qualify for parcel review. So we could do this no matter the weather, how cold it is, those kind of things. It could be done using this process, and it does meet the 3-year requirement. And as I stated, it has built-in tools. We can measure height, distance, and area. The other good thing about this is these images are updated once a year. This year, we did it, the flyover was done the first week of April, and they do that when there's minimal number of leaves on the trees and those kind of things. You get a better imagery, and it's being processed now, and it should be available to us at the end of March. Actually, it's being used by multiple departments, but obviously we're focusing on just what we can use it for in our department, and we're actually going to start training, hopefully next week. We're going to start training our employees how to use this. And, you know, there's a lot of other counties that use it, and I'm talking with those counties now to kind of see what benefits they're doing, what kind of methodology are they using, what their processes are, and those kind of things. So like I say, that's going to start at the end of March. Another thing we're doing right now, as Johnny mentioned when he was going through the organizational chart, we've contracted with a company called GMAS. GMAS is the company that owns the software that we use for our mass appraisal system. The system is called WindGap, and it actually has been in use in Spalding County since 2008. But we've contracted with them. They're currently in 147 out of the 150 counties. So they're in use in, like I say, almost every county. There's a few counties that don't use WindGap. And they also do rural land. So they're very familiar with the county. They've done commercial reappraisals, those kind of things for the county. But we've contracted them to provide administrative services. And basically that's just, they're assisting us in writing programs to look at sales, reviewing neighborhoods, assisting in the review of what the neighborhood factors are. They're helping us with data edits to make sure that we're being uniform in our valuations, and helping us to just in any system reports that we can write, they're helping us with that as well.
One of the things I want to mention is thanks to Dr. Ledbetter for signing the contract with GMAS. We want to make sure we get it right, and we're short some people. Robbie is in a learning curve, but doing an outstanding job. But we want to make sure we get it right. The taxpayers deserve that from us, and we want to make sure. And Eagle View, we're also looking at another program that we may purchase this year. It'll help us keep track and analyze the sales that have occurred. So we're not going to come in our budget talks and ask for any personnel. We're just looking for ways to better utilize the personnel that we have. We have 3 individuals who have just attended Appraisal Course 1, and I believe one of our lone field appraiser is already scheduled for course 1A. So we're trying to get everybody trained, trying to get people cross-trained so that we can cross-utilize and better take advantage of what resources we do have. So thank you for your assistance. We appreciate this opportunity to come and talk to you. Hopefully next time we're going to come and give you some good news, or better than bad, however you want to couch it. But we hope to be able to bring you something that you can sink your teeth into other than us. So do you have any questions?
I've got one.
Okay.
That Eagle View, you said that other departments might be able to use it. What did you mean?
Well, we're already partnering with them. They're sharing in the expense. When we say partnering, they're sharing in the expense, and they get to use it. There's Water and Sewer Authority,
The fire department,
Fire
Public
department.
Works. Our other departments are using Eagle View for access to the flyover information. Specifically, what the fire department is using it for is for the obliques. That's a terminology where you can see the height and depth of a house or a residence, and they can do pre-plans based off of those obliques.
So
Ms. McKinney, what? Go
it
ahead.
belongs to Spalding County, and a lot of good uses for it.
When do you expect appraisal, property appraisal forms going out?
They have to go out by the 1st of July. We are anticipating and planning toward the first week in June.
Okay, okay. So we have a few months.
So that's why we want to come back with you to give you the best number we can give you before the assessments go out.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. McKinney?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming forth, and we look forward to your next set.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Robbie. Item number 7, citizen comments. Speakers must sign up prior to the meeting and provide their names, addresses, and the topic they wish to discuss. Speakers must direct your remarks to the board and not to individual members or to the audience. Personal disagreements with individual members or county employees are not a matter of public concern, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. The chairman has the right to limit your comments in the interest of disposing of the county's business in an efficient and respectful manner. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to the matters pertaining to the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners. No question will be asked by any of the members during citizen comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. No speakers will be permitted to speak more than 3 minutes or more than once unless the board votes to suspend this rule. Dr. Ledbetter, do we have anybody signed up?
Yes, sir, we do. Mr. Michael Middlebrooks, if you would, please step forward and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Michael Middlebrooks, 1108 Maple Drive. I come tonight, at the end of the last meeting, there was a discussion about the county attorney, the RFQs. I hadn't heard anything else about it, or anything else about it. And I think I guess my biggest question is if the other firm or firms that have done an RFQ, if they're having trouble scheduling with the board, that should give us an indication of where they're gonna be as far as service. Ms. Wyndham's here again tonight. She did a phenomenal presentation the last time she was here. I think the familiarness with the community, with the county business, goes a long way, versus somebody from out of county, out of city. And the fact that it's gonna cost a lot more money to get somebody to come represent the county if they're in Marietta or wherever, Alpharetta, whatever the case may be. That being said, if there's no scheduled presentation at this point, when will the RFQ be closed and the determination be made? The other thing is, I appreciate the Board of Assessors coming in tonight and bringing up the information, and what triggered me a little bit was the 80 to 90% no-show. And I'm gonna attribute some of that to the Postal Service, especially in the Atlanta area and out of our post office. They're short of help at our post office. Mail service has been terrible. The notifications for the BOE hearings come by U.S. mail, and it's public knowledge there's hundreds of trucks of mail sitting at centers all across the country that is not being processed. People's bills have not been paid, including one of my neighbors that still does things the old-fashioned way, mailing checks. City of Griffin's fixed to turn her power off because they said they didn't get her check. She has no idea where it is. It's less than a mile. She didn't take it. She mailed it. She mails all her bills. So I would think that some of the no-show may be the fact that I personally have a pending appeal, and I've gotten no notification on my BOE hearing. So I think some of this could involve the post office and post service. But again, back to the county attorney, that's my opinion on that. I'd like to have an update of what the schedule is. Thank you.
Thank you.
County manager, don't we have that scheduled for the zoning meeting on the 28th?
That's correct. The RFP is closed. The board has heard and conducted interviews with the firms that were under consideration, and the consideration by the board will be held on next week, next Thursday, at the Board of Zoning public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, sir, that's all that have signed up this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, minutes. Consider approval of the minutes for the Spalding County Board of Commissioners special called meeting on March 4th, 2024. The Spalding County Board of Commissioners work session on March 4th, 2024. The Spalding County Board of Commissioners regular meeting on March 4th, 2024. And the Spalding County Board of Commissioners special called meeting on March 11th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the aforesaid read minutes.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion carries. Item number 9, old business. Lift from the table and consider the intergovernmental agreement between Butts County and Spalding County for the proposed Hillwood Development Company LLC property. I'm calling for a motion to lift from the table.
Motion to lift, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4. All those opposed? 1. Okay. Motion carries. At this time, do I have a motion to approve the environmental IGA?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for the purpose of discussion.
All right, and do I,
I'll second for discussion.
all right, I have a motion, a second, discussion?
Oh, you're asking us to discuss, okay.
Yeah, I
Do
kind of
we have
like
to vote on something?
Can we get like a little, if we would, maybe a little recap, if we can?
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Den is sitting in the audience.
Come on forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Den Webb, 1105 West Peachtree Street, Atlanta, Georgia, 30309. I'm here on behalf of Hillwood Development. I've got Alex Carr to my right here, who is with Hillwood. We have been trying to rezone property on Arthur K. Bolton Parkway for some time now. It's 90 acres total. Roughly 25 are in Spalding County, roughly 65 are in Butts County. And when we went through the process in Butts County, everyone recognized we need an intergovernmental agreement to deal with taxation, water and sewer, and those types of issues. And so my understanding is that the counties have worked together to put together a document. Butts County has approved that document. It voted on it, what, 2 months ago? February. Okay, so their piece is done. We're hoping tonight that any questions you guys have about the intergovernmental agreement can be answered, and we can get it approved and move forward with the
I
zoning.
missed that when you talked about the split again. I'm sorry. What was that split again? With
It's roughly 2/3, 1/3. So it's about 90 acres, 25 or so are in Spalding County, and the majority of the sites, 65, are in Butts County. And Butts, we were not privy to the negotiations or conversations about the agreement itself. That obviously happened internally, but you know, Butts County's happy with it, if Spalding County's happy with it, then we're happy too.
So for the purpose of discussion, I'm just, first of all, going to reflect on the fact that we sit here and we say that we need industry, we need commercial. This is industry. It's not in our county, but it's connected to our county. On the one hand, that's a good thing. On the other hand, because you guys are the first one, this really is not even about y'all. Okay, so I just want you to understand, I've looked at your project, the updates, I think it will work well. The problem that we're having is we don't want, and I'm just speaking for me, we don't want this agreement, we don't want Butts County Commission to believe that this agreement is setting a precedent for what will roll forward. Like I said, it's really not about y'all. I know you're trying to do your business or whatever, but we talked about some language with the attorney as to what in this document would make sure that this is only related to the property and the lots that you guys have. Sat here and I read through this again. I don't see anything in here that's meat, but what I shared with Stephanie earlier was that, and she told me they have specifically identified your property. This is just for this. I don't know if there's something in here that says that this is a one-off.
Commissioner
because that's
Flowers-Taylor.
basically what I wanted to say.
If you will see on page 2 of the agreement where it says approval, it does reference an Exhibit A. Unfortunately, that Exhibit A is not attached to what was in Granicus, but it is attached to the actual document that has been signed by Butts County. I've seen the executed document, and I did also get with Ms. Morales to make sure that that was the appropriately described property, and she agreed that it was.
But what was the Exhibit A again?
It is the legal description of the property in Spalding
of that
County.
piece of property.
Yes.
So I share, like I said, I share the sentiment I've only talked to the chairman about not opening a Pandora's box. But I'm also at a place where this is kind of like the trial by fire for us. We're going into it on the front side, trying to hit every mark that we can so that we're protecting Spalding County and protecting those border properties, which will come after you guys, so that it's not just an assumption that Spalding County will automatically let someone else build half of their whatever in our community. So I asked Stephanie how that could be possible, and you had a few suggestions other than.
Well, the direction from the Water Authority was that it should not just be attached to the property by legal description, but also to the project. And I think that language could be added such that it would better protect the Water Authority's intention as far as their service area goes.
We've done these IGAs before, and it's specified who is going to provide water, who's going to provide sewage, and who's going to provide fire coverage.
This references back to a blanket IGA that we have based on the River Park development. So those things are addressed already in that agreement for properties that straddle the Butts and Spalding County line. And it is based on the percentage of property located in each county. So with Dollar General, it was based on the front door. That's not what is the basis going forward. It's the percentage of property in the county. So if it's 50.1 in Spalding, then Spalding controls all that permitting. And then if it's the opposite, then Butts does. And
that
does
is
the
agreement we've
collecting and
already
remitting of
agreed
taxes.
to.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the umbrella agreement.
It is.
So this is the baby agreement on it.
Yes.
So water and sewage and fire and everything on this one, because it's 2/3 in Butts County, is all going to be covered by Butts County.
Well, the water and sewerage issue is a different issue because you don't have the authority to give up the water or
Service
sewer
area.
service area that belongs to the Spalding County Water and Sewerage Facilities Authority, which is why this has been to that body already. Mr. Webb made a presentation to them as well, and they were willing because the Water Authority cannot provide sewer at this time and doesn't know when it will be able to. So it has agreed that it shouldn't
This
stall
project,
their
yeah.
development.
So this one is going to Butts County. Butts County's providing
Butts
water,
County
sewer.
will provide the water and the sewer, yes.
Because you can't really have sewer without water.
We have
and
the
you don't want
ability
it
to
coming
provide
from
water,
here
but it doesn't
and
make
coming
sense
from
to do one without the other.
What about property tax revenue?
We will be, if it's 50.1% in Butts County, they will collect and remit to us, and it works in the opposite direction as well.
So we're gonna collect our
We will,
30% or whatever that number is.
Yes.
But they're gonna do all the collections and then just
Yes.
remit to us.
yes. And that's how it works for River Park as well.
So let me just, I'm confused for a second. The entire property, 95 acres, will be billed based on Butts County millage rate? Or the 25 that's us will be based on Spalding County's millage rate?
That's a great question.
It's based on, it
I'm
is.
sorry.
It is based on our millage rate, and that has actually been a thorn in the side of both of our tax commissioners, and I have heard about it from both of them because Butts, they assess or send out bills twice a year, and so it's really difficult for them because they're sending out their bills well before we send out, well before we even set our millage rate. So there's some heartburn in that, but yes, ours is based on our millage rate, theirs is based on theirs.
Okay. Well, like I said, I want to make sure that we're covered. I know that the chairman's concerned about, the Pandora box being open, but I think I would rather err on the side of having done one and found the bumps in that one than to not know what the bumps would be, because it is, no one can make the water authority provide water or make us change our zoning, but this is part of our overreaching plan, is to try to get money from industry. So, yeah, if the language, I feel like I could live with the language if the language specifically says this is just for this property, and that's what you've put on here, and that's what's supposed to be the exhibit.
Yeah, no, I just kind of like to say, that's why I'm very appreciative, Stephanie, county attorney, for actually, doing the work that you do for us, to protect us in the legality issues of this, to make sure Spalding County has a vested interest in this, and if we're going into this IGA, then there is a benefit for us, and that it's done fairly, and that we don't come out on the back end. I know that probably, yes, they're running this, but we do get our fair share of this. That's very important. So I appreciate you looking out and doing the work that you do behind the scenes. I know it was a lot of work,
Thank you.
so.
So earlier, Commissioner Flower Taylor asked if this was tied to the project and tied to this site and tied to just this one. And Stephanie, you said that on page 2 and number 2, Exhibit A, it's not attached here, but you said that is addressed there, and that kind of language could be added to it. Is it already in it?
This is not the most recent version of this resolution, unfortunately. The resolution was revised post this to attach a legal description of the property to it. And so the property that is part of this project that exists, that lies in Spalding County, is appropriately described on the document that has been executed by the Butts County Commission.
Is the project, not just the property?
No,
is
the
that
property is what they have described. The project was what was recommended by the Water Authority, and that language would have to be added.
Okay.
So it will have to go back to Butts County because they'll have to make an approval of that change.
So
It's not a significant change, really, so it shouldn't make a big difference, but.
I'm that stickler. I don't like to vote on stuff that is not the most recent paper, and I can't see Exhibit A. I'll be happy to vote for it, but I want to see the most recent stuff with all the exhibits. I mean, am I the only
No,
one?
I get it.
No, I agree, and again, it's disconcerting when we say, hey, does this have this and this and this? And we get yes, and then when we press it's, well, that can be added later by another party, and we'll go back. Hey, wait a minute, a second ago you said yes, and now but it's not, that has to be added. Yes, it describes the property, but it doesn't describe the project. When we ask for both,
So are we basically locked in if we vote for this and it's not added, basically?
No, I would not want you to approve what you're looking at, because it's
So
not
that's
the,
what I'm saying.
it's
Just
not the
let
correct
let them
document.
come back to us with the real
Yep.
stuff. Sorry, guys.
What I would propose is to make that addition, of the project, because it already describes the property, but to include the language that the Water Authority provided, which came after Butts County had already approved the resolution, and present that to the attorney for Butts County and have them look at that as well, because they're not aware of that as of yet.
So I'm just like making a motion to table again.
second.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Okay, that's fine.
5.
You have a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman.
All
that-
right.
Oh, I rescind my motion.
Okay.
I rescind my motion to approve.
And I'll rescind my second.
All right. Do I have to revote the table?
All in
Please
favor,
do.
rescind.
Please do.
All right, do I have a motion to table?
Yes.
Because we were out of order.
Okay, yeah.
I have a motion to table and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion's tabled.
Is there a
I
time?
will send that document to Mr. Welch tomorrow.
Can we address this at will it be ready at our zoning meeting?
Maybe not
Maybe.
approved, but it might be in,
Maybe on our side, but maybe not on theirs.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get the document approved, we can approve it first and send it to them to approve.
of
like
course.
Of course.
Zoning
whatever
meeting.
order it is.
We shoot for the zoning meeting.
All right.
Just, if I could say one thing, the only thing we've ever asked for, in Butts County, when we were approved for rezoning, it was conditioned upon entering into an IGA with Spalding. And we've always been fine with that concept, and we're fine with it here. We need to move forward with the zoning. I mean, and we're up on the agenda for next Thursday. Whether the IGA is done or not isn't critically important to us. I mean, you will have time to continue to negotiate that. I don't actually, in dealing with Butts County, I don't see any issue at all, frankly, with them changing the wording.
Nor do I.
The project, but I guess we would just ask that you consider
Going ahead
disconnecting
and,
those things, and you can put the same condition in. We can't get a permit until, there's an executed agreement between Spalding and Butts, but we can at least move forward with our zoning and do all the things that are required to get towards permitting.
I agree with that, Mr. Chairman. They have done everything that we've asked them to do in terms of our zoning rules. And while we're having some governmental issues, it's really, this is their money that we're talking about, and we pretty much have said that we are in agreement with that. So I think that's,
Yeah, 28th, we should,
we should be able to vote.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, guys.
Item number 10, new business. Consider request to approve the City of Orchard Hill to install a memorial sign on Macon Road in recognition of a road name sign for a portion of the road within their city limits. The City of Orchard Hill is requesting we grant access on a right-of-way for a sign they will design, construct, fund on their naming policy, and vote by their city council.
So Orchard Hill contacted me. They want to rename a section of that road inside the city, but the sign sort of has to be placed like before their city. And they seek that permission. They're gonna pay for the whole thing. And it's kind of within their,
Are you making that motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right. Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I second for the purpose of discussion.
Okay.
I understand that cities have their own ordinances, and they said they're gonna do this by their sign policy. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means neon sign, two big brick things like what they had in front of Southern Crescent. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is they want the sign outside of the city. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know which road it is exactly.
They're asking for approximately 500 feet before the city limit sign for them to place a street sign,
Yeah, it's like a metal
GDOT
street sign.
approved street sign on our right-of-way that designates the portion of the street inside of their city as a memorial for the young lady who was killed in a motor vehicle accident.
I think our sign shop's gonna end up making that sign. I mean, it's like a normal.
I would
GDOT
dare
sign.
venture that they would contract and pay for us to do that, or they could pay for another
Somebody else does it.
company to do it, but it would have to be, with your approval, a GDOT approved sign inside of our right-of-way. This,
GDOT approved sign.
Yeah. That's
we're not
part of their
looking
policy.
for, nor do I believe that they are looking for a
No.
monument to be placed.
No.
They're just asking for a GDOT approved sign.
So, like, I'm not very linear, three-dimensional at all. How far away is 500? 500 feet? Is that a football field?
A little bit more than a
Football field is 300, so a
330.
little bit farther than a football field.
Football field plus the 2 end zones.
So where the city of Orchard Hills starts on Macon Road and where it ends will be the name of this street.
It would be a memorial street. They would
Yeah,
not
they wouldn't
change
rename
the
the
name
road.
of Macon Road. It would just be a memorial, just like we do for other roads in our community, or have done for other roads in our community.
Like what?
No, Arthur K. Bolton actually changed the name of the road.
That's correct. Arthur K. actually changed the name of the road, but there's a portion of 16 out on the west side of the county that is a memorial for a trooper
Flint.
that was, yes,
Jack Flint.
correct.
So it's that kind of sign?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 2, consider approval of Tyler Technology Enterprise Resource Planning software. Ms. Dye, if you'd step forward and talk to us about this, we would appreciate it.
Good evening again.
Okay.
I would like to present to you an exciting opportunity to upgrade our county ERP software. As you know,
What's ERP?
Enterprise Resource Planning.
So, sure nobody else out there knew.
As most of you know, our current software has served us well over the years, since 2009. But I believe it's time to take our administrative and financial management to the next level. I make a recommendation of Tyler Technologies. Why Tyler Technologies? The Enterprise ERP enables and allows users to become more efficient, productive, and responsive to specific business needs by breaking down departmental silos, streamlining processes, and integrating multiple inherent and third-party solutions, which includes Microsoft Office. It also will provide improved citizen services. The upgraded software will enable us to provide better services for our citizens. For example, we can implement online portals for citizen engagement, allows them to access services, submit requests, and track progress more easily. It will also enhance transparency, responsiveness, and overall citizen satisfaction with our county government services. With the new ERP software, we will have access to real-time data and advanced reporting tools. This will enable us to generate advanced, more comprehensive reports and analytics, giving us valuable insight into our operations, finances, and performance. These insights will support data-driven decision-making at all levels. The new software is designed to also measure our county's growth and changing needs. It can handle increased transaction volumes and adapt to new requirements, allowing us to future-proof our operations and investments. In conclusion, using this upgrade with the new software will bring numerous benefits, including streamlined processes, integrated data, enhanced reporting, improved citizen service, and better security. This investment will enable us to deliver better services, make more informed decisions, and drive efficiency into our operations. Thank you for your attention, and I am open to your feedback you may have.
So in a
You know I
nutshell.
got some questions.
Yes, I just make a comment? I just had a comment. Well, actually a question for Erica. So in a nutshell, this will help us follow the money, basically.
Yes,
Okay, so.
most definitely. And it will also be able, different departments will be able to utilize this in different ways.
Okay.
There were dashboards, analytical data.
So the issues we had last year with some of the money, whatever, should not be present a problem this year.
Correct.
During budget. That's important. All right, that's all I got to say.
Could you go back one slide, I think? Okay, maybe it's another one.
That
Maybe
was
two-
just an overview of the different departmental components as far as what the program will provide.
So under human capital, human services. What is the employee self-service? That means you can log yourself in, get into all of your accounts associated with the county?
By employee, it has its own self-service portal for each employee. If I wanted to access my information, I would be able to put in a username and password
Okay,
to see my benefits, my time and attendance, and things such as that.
okay, so as far as it being better for citizens, talk me through how that will be. So I got a wild dog running around in my neighborhood. What do I do through this system?
Work order?
You would be able to use a portal, a citizens portal, to put in your complaint, and then it would go to that department.
And right now, how is that happening?
Right now for the county, we're still utilizing, oh, my mind just went blank.
Facility do?
Facility do, thank you, yes, ma'am. Some of the other things that I was very impressed as the staff looked through the software package was that the dashboards that are available for us to showcase at our bi-monthly meetings, you don't have to wait for the bi-monthly meeting. You can see them online in real time. So you can pull up the county's website, and you'll be able to see where our money's going, how much is collected in revenue, how much is going out in expenditure. You can even see it by department. This is an opportunity for us to be extraordinarily transparent in how we're presenting our financial position every single day, not every month, but every single day. I was very impressed with how the dashboard was put together.
Will people be able, I think I saw this, employees will be able to clock in through this system?
Yes, it provides its own time and attendance module, so it would
right
take,
now, we're kind of fobbing it. Is that not going to be here anymore? Or
it
will
would
that
take
be-
the place of Nova Time, which was the program we currently use.
Okay, but what happens? Are our employees coming to work and then logging in on a computer, or are they?
That is correct.
When
Yes,
they
ma'am.
swipe their thing, they're in there? I mean, what are we doing?
So the way that the system works, you can either continue to use the computer to log in your time, or you can clock in by geofence on your phone. So once they arrive at their work location, they can click the phone and clock in or clock out from work.
So, what if they're late and they clock in while they're in the car or on the way to work?
It's geofenced. And what that means is that there is a
Thank you
very
for explaining that.
Yeah. There is a very specific location, and you have to be at that location. So when you turn your phone on and you ask it to give you directions, the phone asks you, do you want to travel from your current position? And it knows exactly where you are. The way that the system is set up, it takes that current position of your work location, and that's the only place where you can clock in or clock out.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? I have a couple, but
I'll save mine. I just had like a brain thing.
all right. How much
I
money?
can't remember what it is.
So the total that we expected, and we did have an expectation for the price of the enterprise resource software, we expected it to be $1.5 million for an upgrade. We put the process out to bid, listed it on the Georgia Registry, and we received bids that were from, 387 and some change to $1.3 million, $1.373 million. We, as a group, as staff, sat down and we went through a 37-page document
That's correct.
for outlining exactly what each one of the vendors provided, what services they provided, whether or not they outsourced services to a third-party vendor like we currently have. We're currently using 3 or 4 different software packages and cobbling them together to make the system work. Tyler Technologies provided every single point that we were looking for under one roof. And that price was $743,639.
Are any other communities using them?
They are. We actually reached across, the city of Fayetteville is using them. We're actually using Tyler over in court.
In the courts,
And the
okay.
court, our court system, they have spoken very favorably of it. Fayetteville spoke very favorably of it. I actually saw their dashboard in real time 2 weeks ago when I was at the UGA campus. Was very impressed with how they were able to drill down from a user's perspective and see what was going on.
Is the sheriff's department connected to the judicial's software for,
I don't think they currently are.
because I know we were getting some software that was supposed to, instead of you having to carry a paper from the office to the sheriff's office, they were supposed to be able to have access. It's been some years, so I'm just trying to find out where the sheriff's department will be able to fit in all this.
I don't know if I can answer your question.
Oh, there's the
Program
sheriff.
do you currently utilize?
We use like RMS, JMS, through Central Square, for all of our record keeping, book processing, booking, reports and everything. We also, through our portal, we can obtain warrants, sign search warrants and all those things without having to go to the courthouse. We do all of that. And I believe some officers can even do it from their laptops and their cars. So it is very convenient. It works very good. I can't say enough about it because it saves us so much time.
So would the sheriff and the courts be able to interface have access to what it is that we were getting when we got this package?
Actually, Tyler Technology, the software that's being used at the court, is this software.
Oh, okay.
All right.
And how much you said it was?
$743,639.
Tyler's really great because if it's not working as anticipated, like they're the ones who create it. And so if we go, hey, wait a minute, we need this switch to also flip and we need it to kind of do this, they get in there and make it do that for us. I mean, the court, I know Judge Thacker comes in repeatedly and goes, I kind of need it to do, and they go, okay, we can make it do that. And then, but it's doing this, and I don't need that. And they go, okay, so.
Okay.
How much are we currently spending on other things that this is gonna replace? And is that a yearly spend, or is that a one-time spend and we own it?
So the 743,639 is a one-time, and then there is an annual spend. And the cost for the annual spend
It's
is,
$234,000.
and what are
And
we
we are
spending now?
currently spending $131,000 annually for all three parts of the software that we use now.
Does that include the court's part?
It does
No,
not.
the court is separate.
And so the new big spend would still not include the court?
The new big spend is only for the installation of the ERP software that we, or, yeah, ERP
No, I mean
software
like the
that we
yearly.
have. It would be,
Like a subscription.
yeah, their subscription is already already baked into their budget.
Correct.
So it would not be an ad.
But we still have this 234,000.
We do.
Well, I don't want to call it maintenance because you said that maintenance is filled into,
That's actually what it's called, an
is.
annual maintenance fee.
But that's also part of when you go, hey, I needed to do this extra thing.
oh,
That's
okay.
paying for them to go, yep, let me add that for you, or,
And the ad for that under maintenance, this is a cloud-based system, so we would not be required to house a server here locally to manage that system. The server is being managed by Tyler Technologies, so they're doing all of the upgrades to all of the servers, and they're managing any updates to their software as well, so all of that is included in that additional annual
so if we send
subscription
out
price.
new laptops, or our current laptops get an upgrade that all of a sudden makes it incompatible with Tyler, we go, hey, it's not working anymore, and they solve the problem, and that's
Right.
all included in that.
Correct.
Or the new iPhone comes out, or an iTunes update rewrites something, and they go, hey, I can't log in anymore, and then, like, we go to Tyler, and Tyler goes, oh, let's fix it.
What do they mean about, and I think it was on another slide, about content management? It will be doing that too. What does that actually look like?
Contract management or content?
Content. See, it says Citizen Services, Tyler Content Manager, but I think I saw it on another page of the slide. I'm just wondering what that means.
So they're working in the background to make sure that the content of the data that we input is filtered in such a way that it becomes clean. So any data source, if you're not managing it on a regular basis, somebody could put dash Public Works or dot Public Works, and it doesn't manage that. The system sees it as a completely different department. Content management really makes sure that the information that the user puts in is consistent, so that the data set that comes back on the other side for the dashboard is accurate. They are managing all of that information in the background for us. Technically, an AI is managing that in the background for us, to make sure that the information is accurate and dependable.
Okay, I'm done asking questions.
Where are you getting the money?
So the money for this is not budgeted. The money that will be required for this purchase will need to come from our fund balance.
Yes.
The reason that we're doing this is because the software, as Erica indicated at her opening statement, is from 2009. The software is outdated. It's also sunset, so we are,
Rolling up on it.
yeah, well, it sunset December 31st, 2023, so we're a few months past the sunset date. We want to make sure that we are secure with the information that we have. What we don't want is to be in a position where any of our data is compromised. And this will ensure that we are in the best position possible moving forward to safeguard the data that we have under our control.
What's the I said I wasn't gonna ask another question. What is the turnkey time? If we let you send them a contract or whatever tomorrow, when is it gonna be working?
We're looking at anywhere from 12 to 18 months.
Well, we already gonna be past December 20.
Well, we have to take into consideration the data conversion that they'll have to do with the current program that we're utilizing, and also we have to take into consideration the training that we'll have to do prior to implementing the program.
And we're at the mercy of these vendors who are providing the software package and the number of people that they have on staff in order to train us.
And no
So
data
it's a fire
migration
truck.
goes as smoothly as you hope it will.
That's very true. No
Right.
data migration goes as smoothly as you hope.
Oh,
What they're
well.
looking to bring back into the system, they're going to maneuver 3 years' worth of previous data in. And we will work through the challenges of that migration as we move into full integration for our system.
Okay, for real that time, that's it.
All right. So everybody square with 743, 334.
743, 639.
Yep, and then the 334 for the annual budget coming out of,
That was two.
234.
234.
yeah, excuse me, the M&O costs.
Correct.
Yeah. Coming out of fund balance. We all square? Want to make sure. All right? We already have a motion.
No, you do not have.
All right, do I have a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the recommendation from our staff to purchase from Tyler an ERP plan for the cost of $743,639 with an annual maintenance of $234,000, and for those funds to be taken from fund balance.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Motion carries.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Ms. Dye.
Mr. Chair,
18 months.
thanks to our wonderful technology, I've been live corrected by the mayor of Orchard Hill. We approved their sign on Macon Road. They were actually, and this is totally 100% my fault. They are actually asking for a sign on Green Valley Road, which parallels Macon Road. That's 100% my fault. It's the same thing, it's just not
It's not
on Macon, it's on Green Valley. Can I move to, I don't know how we would do that, amend what we did earlier, instead of Macon Road in new business number 1,
Yes.
under,
Okay?
to make it Future
Are
Road?
we
That's
amending?
100% my fault.
Include in your motion that it would be in lieu of
Right.
the previous approval from Old Macon Road.
So I'd like to make the motion back on business number 1, in lieu of Macon Road, to approve the request from the city of Orchard Hill to install memorial sign on Green Valley Road from Futural to their city limits, and then they take it from there. Sorry,
I'm
that's
gonna-
totally
I'm
my.
gonna second that
That's totally
because
my.
it is most confusing.
Here, I'll-
Okay, first of all,
I'll show you on the map here.
Green Valley Road is not in Orchard Hill, is it?
Yeah, look,
A portion of it is, yes.
so, I thought it was this one, it goes right next to it, you see what I'm saying? So they don't want it on Macon, they want it on Green, it's on the other side of the railroad tracks, that's all.
So they want it from here,
Yeah, on Green Valley.
going to where to where?
They wanted the sign to start at Futural here, and then, so that's the 500 foot. Again, Macon is
Okay,
just the other
that's
side.
Futural right
Yeah,
there?
that's Futural there.
Oh.
We're just looking at a map. Again, that's 100% my fault.
The advantage of having this capability. is
Right.
We fix it right now.
Right.
Instead of waiting and getting it fixed some other time.
I would just like to suggest that in the future, when anyone asks us to do something, we actually have a diagram.
Yeah, that's 100%
That's
me,
true, yeah.
100% me, guys.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Okay. All right, we have
I
a motion.
seconded it.
Did we have a second?
Yep, she said.
And a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Item number 3, consider adoption of the state travel policy. Dr. Ledbetter.
So the state of Georgia travel policy provides a comprehensive framework designed to regulate and streamline our travel-related expenses for our employees. By adopting the state policy, we can ensure consistent guidelines are in place across departments and know the policy is legally reviewed annually for compliance with the IRS guidelines. One of the primary reasons for considering the state of Georgia travel policy is to emphasize on cost containment and the prudent use of taxpayer funds through standardized procedures for booking accommodations, transportation, meals, and other travel-related expenses, we can effectively control costs while ensuring that employees receive necessary accommodations for official travel. Furthermore, the adoption of this policy would facilitate compliance with state regulations and best practices. Additionally, by leveraging the established framework for the state of Georgia travel policy, we can streamline our administrative processes associated with travel authorization, reimbursement, and documentation. This would not only save time and resources for both employees and administrative staff, but also enhance overall operational efficiency for the team that works to support our reimbursement process. One of the things that I considered with staff as we walked through this process, we have staff members who travel on official business who are who may suffer some issues with eating out at restaurants. And this would allow us the opportunity to use a per diem process where those employees could actually go by the grocery store and pick up food for their travel needs and actually get reimbursed for it. Right now, our travel policy does not allow that. They have to provide receipts for meals. This policy would be very restrictive in how much money would be afforded for each day. And inside of your packet, you can follow along with the cost for daily per diem that is utilized by the state of Georgia. It's a $50 a day per diem, and it breaks down for the day of travel. You are afforded lunch and dinner if you leave before lunch, and then on your return, you're afforded breakfast and lunch if you leave during the day and you get back before dinner time. But it is a very consistent way of doing business. It's reviewed annually by the state of Georgia to comply with IRS rules, and it affords us the opportunity to fall in line with some of our adjoining jurisdictions.
So is this per diem paid before or is it paid after?
That would be up to you, but my recommendation would be that we afford our employees the opportunity to take advantage of the per diem paid before so that they would have money for travel.
Right,
for whatever.
that's what I'm thinking, because our travel sheet does allow you to be able to be paid something in advance. So this is the rate that the state uses. Is this amount, and we're calling it per diem, what we were actually paying was a meal.
That's correct.
Meal amount. What does the state do about me going to a meeting in Barnesville and having to pay, and me having to buy a meal at a meeting in Buckhead? Because the money and the cost of the food is a lot different.
It is different, and the per diem is different, and it is actually, it is determined by the zip code. So if
Okay.
you go to the state travel website, you can put in where you're going. If you're going to Jekyll or Savannah, there's one rate for Jekyll and Savannah. There's a rate for Atlanta, and then there's rates for other areas like North Georgia, if you're going to Gainesville, or if you're going to Columbus, there's a rate for Columbus. So the states actually look
So they're
at.
looking at the demographics and the cost
Yes, ma'am.
based on the region that they're having to go to.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the same for mileage too? Or is that just for food?
The mileage is different. The mileage rate is 54.7 cents right now for IRS, and that is consistent across the state.
So that is, wherever you go, that is the
Yeah,
mileage rate?
they're following the IRS rules
Okay.
for, the federal IRS rules for the cost of fuel.
I think that, I mean, I
That's
think
pretty
it's a
fair.
good idea, because people bring their kids with them when they go to meetings and stuff, and they're not always trying to go out and eat in the, in the biggest restaurant or whatever, so
This is very similar to the federal rules that I've lived with all my life.
I think
so
it's a good
so
idea.
It's a good idea. It helps people who want to be
who
helped.
can manage.
Takes care of people who have allergies or stuff like that that need special stuff.
And it's consistent.
So,
I like
Yeah.
I
that.
think it's much.
That's
all
a
right.
big
Great
piece.
Do I have a motion to it?
I have a motion, I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution that will allow us to adopt the state per diem policy.
Second.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
You do, James?
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Thank you. Item number 4, consideration of dock holiday event and use of City Park. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Oh, we
Oh, no.
we probably should talk about it first, yes.
I will second it for the purpose
Kelly talking?
For discussion.
Of discussion, yes. So, Mr. Chairman, 2 or 3 years ago, we were charged at Leisure Services Board to come up with a partnership policy. And part of the language of that policy says that we have to be involved in the planning from start to finish. And, I mean, I think that it's a good policy because it makes it easier for us to determine whether or not there's a good place for us to fit in. The problem I have with this request is that it came to us last year, and we explained to them that it was not their fault that we had just gotten the city, gotten a park, and so we did ask Steve to do some things so that we could get TJ to get the park ready for this. So, here we are again this year. And I know that we have some groups that we partner with, usually governmental entities. But in terms of nonprofits, it's different. And not so much even that it is a nonprofit, it's just that if you're not partnering with us, and I'm not saying that Kelly is not the defining factor at Leisure Services who is a partner. That has to be voted on by the board, and it should meet those criteria. The recommendation from the board was to veer from that policy to allow them to be able to use the park. TJ came up with the amount that it would cost because Steve says that we need to know how much it is costing for us to give taxpayer facilities away. And I think it was around $2,900 or $3,000 for use of the pavilion and places to park the vans and everything. And, you know, we either follow the policy that we have or we don't follow the policy. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. And for me, this just kind of harkens itself back to trash collection pickup. We charge people to do a bunch of work to come up with a project so that it will work. And then when it comes to us, we're changing our mind. So I have nothing against Doc Holiday. I go out and eat food out there all the time. But it's just a good time. I mean, I don't feel like we have people that come here and put heads in the bed. They are funded by GSBTA, but they can veer away from that. But, I mean, if it were the Rotary Club, if it were the Kiwanis Club, if it were Urban Outreach, and they wanted to use those facilities, they would have the same requirements. And so my process is that the decision we make now will determine how we move forward. You're either going to have a policy or you're not going to have a policy. We have the right to make an exception. But if you allow gratuity to one organization, you need to allow it to everybody else, which means your policy doesn't work. And the discussion was that the organizers said that they don't have the money to do that.
I'm going to jump in, and I totally agree with you, Commissioner Flowers-Taylor. But, you know, I sit on that chamber board. And I guess I look at when I think about collaboration and, you know, the affiliation that we actually have with the city, you know, the county, the school system, and we look at some of those other entities, and the chamber being one of them, and having those, you know, elite partnerships that we're all in together as for the good of this community for this free event. I do agree. I think policy should be made. I think policy should be enforced. And I think maybe that's something that we can discuss. But because this is an event that has been going on for how many years? You know, and it has drawn so much of community, it's a free event, so much community participation, brings us all together. You know, I just think this is one where I would kind of like to see this approved with the county support to see that we do our part to make this event successful. That's just kind of where I see. But I do understand, you know, policies are policies, I get it. But, you know, with the Chamber of Commerce, you know, and that affiliation that we have and that partnership,
But we don't have a partnership with them.
Well, I'll use the term collaboration, because that's what we do, we collaborate with them. And, you know, and we have people that sit on different boards, you know, for this, and I happen to sit on that one. So I kind of like to keep that collaboration going with them, because, you know, that's who we are. That's what most counties do, you know, with you bringing the Chamber of Commerce. They're a part of that piece of that puzzle. It's not about government entity. The Chamber is a big piece of it, so that's just what I'd like to say about it.
Okay, now hold it. Is this, let's make sure we're talking on the same side. Your issue is policy.
My
Yes.
issue is, we have a policy. There is some conversation, just to speak it out. Kelly says that, I forget what his first name is, Greg Honeycutt,
Greg Honeycutt.
had been attending the meetings.
Yes, Greg Honeycutt does attend the meetings as they plan the event.
And I'm just asking you off the cuff, because I didn't ask you. When did you find out that this request was gonna be coming to us?
Well, it is an annual event, and I received the application
Is Will Dawes here?
on January 24th.
And in the application, what does it say? Does it say we would like to partner with? Because the reason I'm asking you this, because the rule is that if anyone wants to be a partner with us, as a board, we have to decide that what it is that you want us to put in as, which are amenities.
What are they putting?
Right, yeah, so, and they may do the work, but, you know, the people who have the back-to-school bash at their church or whatever, or they want to use a pavilion, well, it's a free event too. Are we going to allow them to be able to get a pavilion for free? Or what we've done in the past is they've had to pay. They pay $175 for the pavilion. We have City Park. There's electricity associated with the use of that, use of the City Park gym. So that's my point, is that if you want us to put a dollar value on it, and we tell you what it is, then I can understand that, we can understand that's what our partnership is. But if you have not become a formal partner with us, and we had lots of people who were partners before, but they were just being able to use the facilities. And so, you know, as I said, this board can do whatever it wants to, but I have a problem with us charging staff and charging other boards that we have created to come up with policies, and we accept them, and then we renege on them. So where I'm sitting is, if the decision is to waive them paying the fee, then my expectation is that anybody else that comes to Kelly and said, have Honeycutt to come to our meeting because we want to be a partner with you, we can't really tell them no.
Okay.
You can't.
Well, do we need to remove ourselves from the board of the chamber? I'm kind of like, do we need to remove ourselves from it then? I feel like that's part of the reason we actually have someone, or us, any of us, actually sitting at some of these organizations to have a seat at the table to talk about these things. And although, once again, I do agree what you're saying. If it's going to be, I don't know. I just feel like because of our collaboration that we've had with the chamber over the years, and that we do have a relationship with them because we do participate in a lot of their events. I think if we're removing ourselves from that, then why do we
Don't we
need to?
pay for that, though? Don't we pay to be a member of the chamber?
I don't,
Anybody ask me? Because I thought you'd have to be. Erica says yes.
do we pay?
We do.
Yes.
We make a.
The chamber is an organization that has members, and in order to be in it, you have to pay.
We do.
But you don't pay to have a seat on their board.
Right,
which
no,
is-
no.
That's what I meant.
no.
That's what I'm referring
But that's
to.
a community thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I mean,
maybe we don't need to have.
having one of us on the board may or may not be an advantage. So.
I'm just saying, for most local government, and for most towns and communities,
Those
that's what you
relationships are
do.
important.
But, until you don't anymore. I'm just kind of saying, I think that's kind of what, when I look at the community at large,
I
it
think
is.
this could have been avoided if they had simply followed the policy, came to Kelly, we are thinking this is what we're gonna
No problem,
do
absolutely.
at Doc Holiday, and can you tell us if we're able to partner with you? Because the board never had any notice, and
And to know
my
this,
understanding
and this is an annual,
that
this is an annual thing. This has been going on for how long now? How long have we been doing
This will be the 10th.
Okay, okay. So
This will be the 10th annual, assuming that it's approved, and you have been listed
Will,
as
tell
a
us your
partner
name
for
and
all
give us
9
your
years.
address.
Will, would you please state your name and
Yes.
who you're affiliated with?
I'm Will Doss, and I am affiliated with the Dock Holiday Festival through Eagles Way, and we are responsible for the barbecue portion of the festival. So yes, would be the 10th annual, and there are 5 or 6 partners that are listed as partners within that, and the county being one of them. Actually, in the middle years of this, there was actually some dividends that were made. We didn't just break even, and actually brought Mr. William Wilson a check, and he just said, no, thank you, take it back, we can't receive it. So not very often we every year have broken even and not cost us any money, but only a few times has there been times when the partners could receive back. Some of the partners then give that to the charity that is involved as a partner.
All right, the requirement from us is space, clean up, do stuff like that. There's no cash involved in this or anything else. This is, they wanna
No,
use.
use of the facilities
Yes. use
that
of
we
the-
would normally rent for money, yes.
All right, James, comments, thoughts?
I look at this as like we're one of the partnering organizations, and we can partner with nonprofits to have special events when we want to, and that's why it's coming to this board for this vote. So this is a big deal. It's a big draw to our community. You know, Doc Hollidays was a doctor here. He was a dentist here. His dentist office was here. He's buried here. And anyone who says different, I'll fight you in the parking lot. He was buried here.
We've actually we've grown to be now the longest running barbecue contest in the state. We're also the state championship last year and this year, awarded that again. And so Georgia Barbecue Association, in their world, it is a big deal. We do have lots of people that do, spend the night, stay in hotels, just from the barbecue aspect of it. There's also the festival side of it. We had over 100 vendors that were there. Now, some of those vendors are local, some of those vendors are not local and are staying in hotels also.
So are the vendors allowed to use the space that they get for free?
The vendors, no, there is a vendor fee in that space. But that's just so that we can put on the event. We have to pay for the staging that is rented, we have to pay for the lighting that takes, sound system that's put in. Any kind of entertainment that is done, that has to be paid for. And so, we're just trying to do it as a community event. No one's really trying to make any money at it. We're just trying to provide some. That's how Eagles Way got involved, is I had barbecue guys that were judges in my church, and they said we ought to do this. And at the time, Kenda was the downtown council, and I said, hey, we want to do a Dock Holiday barbecue contest. I didn't know there was a Dock Holiday committee that you got approval for some of those things. But she said, we're wanting to put markers up in our community, and so I think that's about the time that the 8 markers that are in the community for Dock Holiday happened. So that's how it all came about, and it became a festival. And then the chamber has come on board. They used to do the Irish City, I think it was, or whatever it is, Mayfling. And so they put kind of all their marbles into this aspect of it too.
Ms. Gwen, is this a policy that's not quite right, or is this just, we're starting to really turn the screws on it to make sure that it's done exactly right?
I think that the policy is right. I think that it was made with very weighted decisions. And the only problem, the only problem that I have with this is that what people, and I'm saying people, any other organization, what they think a partnership is with us is not the same thing that we say. That means that we have to have input, we have to be aware of it, and certainly on the front end, we need to know what it is that you want from us. We should be involved in knowing what the budget is, all of those things. And we generally haven't had a challenge with this because we've had this policy that you just can't walk up and say, okay, I want to do something at the rec center. It's going to be for the community. What I did try to find out was if, in fact, every year after the Dock Holiday Festival, there was an increase in local option sales tax or SPLOST tax or hotel motel tax mostly. And there's not, there's not that significant of a push. It's just a big party in the community. All I'm saying is if you don't go through the steps you need to go through, don't come to us.
Help me understand, so it's because we as county commissioners don't have enough input in the planning stages of the event? Is that?
Kelly, can you read them what the policy says, or do you have it?
Sure, I have it with me. We first have a few definitions. A special event is an event plan that is open to public attendance. A partner organization is a local, state, or federal government entity, academic institute, or not-for-profit organization whose mission aligns with that of Spalding County. A partnership event is an event which is offered to the public jointly between a partner organization and Spalding County, whereby both entities are planning, hosting, and conducting the event together. Mutual benefit, no cost reservation of the public facility for the event, mutually shared resources, and achievement of mutually set goals and objectives.
So we were not given that opportunity to
Hold on.
be involved in the planning at that level. I don't care that it's been going on for 10 years. We have a
So-
role.
That's a good question. That's a good point. Have we ever been?
The county is always at the table.
Okay.
There,
I know that.
No, it doesn't say we have to be at the table. It says we need to be involved in the planning from conception through follow-through.
Well, that's what I'm trying to bring up. I think there might be a misconception, because we discussed this today at the downtown council meeting that I sit on as a representative from this board. And of course, they discussed this as well in the chamber, which Commissioner Johnson sits on as a representative of this board. So the two boards really that are in charge of this event.
No, they're not in charge of this event. It is Eagles Way Church and the chamber, not
no,
downtown council.
Yeah,
there's 6 partners.
City of Griffin, Downtown Council, Chamber, Eagles Way, and the Spalding Collaborative.
So other than Eagles Way, which we're not on your board of, we're on the boards of every single other partner. And then there's the City of Griffin. We're also not on the City of Griffin's board. So of the 6 partners, we're on 4 of them.
Correct.
Okay, just making sure that we all understand
I
that.
think this issue really and truly
It's
has
policy.
to do with, we've got to tighten up and do this thing right. And there's got to be an issue through Kelly to be able to say, hey, you got to tell us 60 days in advance, you got to start working with the partnership, 90 days, whatever the right words are, to be able to do this. That's the issue really and truly that I see.
Well, wait, hold on. So the groups that coordinate this, there's 6 groups that coordinate this. And we sit on the board for 4 of those groups and discuss this event at 4 of those groups. The only ones that we're not directly involved with at the executive level planning this event is the City of Griffin and a local church, Eagles Way. Otherwise, all of the other partners, we sit on the board of. So what more input should we have than to be on the executive boards of 2/3 of all of the organizations, the different organizations that do this? Like how much more
I guess bringing
control and planning
I
should
guess
we
you're
be
saying
part of?
bringing it back to the board.
You charged Leisure Services to have a policy for using county parks and facilities. That's what happened. And because you're sitting on the board, as a commissioner, you're not authorized to vote for all of us to say that you're gonna expend taxpayer dollars to a nonprofit organization or to an event that has not followed the policy. That's what I'm saying.
We
It
don't do
doesn't
that.
matter that we're
Yeah.
sitting
We
on
don't
the
do
board.
that.
We're not in the
Right.
decision-making
that.
process on
No.
that board.
No.
When I'm sitting on Leisure Services Board, my brain is Leisure Services. When I'm at the Water Authority, it's Water Authority. I hope that when you're at Main
Right.
Street, it's the
Yes.
same thing. But at the end of the day, we decide whether or not we allow taxpayer money to be used.
I think that's very true.
Without following
Because we don't
policy.
we don't make those decisions when we're actually at those boards. Like you said, it's a baby of Leisure Services. However, I'm just thinking because you are part of the county, we all sit at that table together as Leisure Services representing the county, then that should be, I don't know, there would be a policy, I would think, or hopefully a policy that allows us to be in participation and partnership with these other organizations for events like this in this community. So no, not us necessarily.
There is something that allows it.
Them,
Us being
them.
involved.
Right, so I mean, that's what I'm trying
Not
to think.
sitting at the table, being involved in the process.
So,
You
so
guys
they are
are
involved.
totally,
I think that
again,
you're
I
involved
was
in the process.
involved in the planning of it this morning
How was
at the
that?
meeting that talks about what we're gonna do and who we're gonna, how much it's gonna cost and how much the vendor fees were. Like we voted on that this morning. Like I was in that meeting. So I'm not sure. You keep saying, hey, we need to be more involved. We need to be a part of the planning. And I keep
you're
reiterating.
not
we-
on the Leisure Services Board.
I'm not talking about Leisure Services Board. I'm talking about.
But
the
your
down-
board is not charged to make a policy and enforce a policy on how to use county
That's true.
resources.
That's true.
Even if you wanted to, and you came back to us and said, can we go ahead and do this? We'd all still have
That's
to
true.
vote on
We'd
that.
still have to vote on it.
So,
still have to
so
vote on
again,
it.
my train of thought will make more sense when completed. So if I could just finish the sentence, that'd be great. So what I was saying is, we sit on the boards that plan this event. So we help plan this event. Our policy is, if we help plan an event, it still has to come back to this board to be voted on, exactly as it's coming through tonight. So we sit on the board, the boards that plan this event, that, all those decisions still have to come back and get voted on tonight.
No, I'm sorry, that's not right. You don't have to come back. If it's agreed by the Leisure Services Board, there's no need for it to come here because we're partners with them. Those expenses are just part of what the county does. So under normal
Okay.
circumstances, no one would come back to us asking us to vote for any specific expense because they are partnered with us.
So again, I think maybe we should go back and rewatch this discussion, because you've said, hey, we're missing A, and when we provide A, you say, actually, no, we need B, and we say, actually, we provide B, and then you say, no, we need C. We go, well, we provide C, we're not in policy.
No, you haven't provided
Well,
any of the things that the policy
Okay,
So
says.
again,
Yeah,
you,
I think the real point for us is if we're sitting on some board and they're trying to do it, we have an obligation to make sure that that group gets to Kelly and sits down with Kelly and says, hey, we as members sitting on, no matter what board we're on, you all get to Kelly, get it in the planning stage to be able to do it. That's our portion of trying to get it done.
Is this on your calendar every year? Is Doc Holiday on the calendar every year?
that happens. Exactly, that happens.
So
It
She's
still
coming to
costs the
approve it from
taxpayers
us.
money. It still costs taxpayers money.
May I say a couple things? I think what we're seeing is we have a representative at the table. This event has been hosted for 10 years. So when there's an event that's been hosted for 10 years, there are a lot of assumptions that are made, like you're gonna be doing this is your lane, this is your lane, this is your lane. So we are there, we are involved, we have the dates, we know it's coming. I think that the greater challenge and why we're even here today is the cost. Is we're now looking at costs of everything. And TJ and I created an outline of all the expenses. When we shared the total at the advisory commission meeting last Thursday, it was at $3,000. But a little more clarity, they said the committee will do the restroom cleaning, the committee will do the extra trash cans, the committee will do the trash disposal. They will release all other pavilions except number 2 for rental to reduce the amount of lost revenue. That brings the total down to just around $2,000. So now the ask is basically, is the county going to permit us as Parks and Leisure Services to provide these services at that cost and absorb that cost, or are we gonna pass that cost on to
The
the
user.
organizations involved in this plan?
We discussed the levels of partnerships today at the Downtown Council. $2,000 is effectively half of a gold sponsorship, like it's $4,000 for a gold sponsorship. So, and yet the partnering organizations are listed above the gold sponsors. So we're one of the partnering organizations, and so like all the other organizations, Downtown Council, you know,
How
Chamber
much
of
are they
Commerce
paying?
is putting actual dollar amounts. They gave it in a thing today. I was paid a bowl, so I don't have it with me. But there's a dollar amount that they actually cut a check out of their budget and write a check to them. They're not asking us to do that. They're just asking us not to charge them to you know, these other fees.
All right, I think we've had enough discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
This is-
I mean, I simply want, my point is that if we have a policy,
We gotta stick to it.
and we've asked people to do
We are.
that, we need to do it.
We have.
Whatever y'all decide today,
Right.
just understand that when someone
precedent
else
is being
comes
set.
here, that's right. You're setting a precedent. Either you're not gonna follow the policy, or you're gonna waive it this time and you're gonna follow the policy. I'm not about trying to make up a bunch of rules to throw at people. I mean, the thought process that they couldn't have Doc Holliday because they don't have $2,000 is ludicrous.
That is.
It's absolutely ludicrous, and that was what was said at the meeting. You know, I don't care. I would donate to them, but don't try to make it look like we are there.
All right, so,
I agree with that. I think that's, you know,
All right,
if
so-
it wasn't about the whole community and camaraderie and really wanting the county to be part of this event, because I think we should, I think it would look us bad if we were not. I think we should. That's just where I'm coming
all
from
right, so
here.
do we wanna waive it this time?
I'm asking for it to be waived.
All right, do we have a
We
motion?
do not.
You have a motion on the floor.
We do not?
Oh,
You do.
we do,
Yes,
yes,
you do.
we do.
I motion to
I
approve their,
second it for the
All right,
discussion.
so do we want to back up and say we're just gonna waive it, or we are going to approve it? Because originally, we said we're gonna approve. Do we
it's the
wanna
same thing. We're
back up?
approving them asking for the use of it.
Yeah, we're approving the amount of money allotted
Yeah.
to go to the event. That was the emotion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now, are
There's a
we
motion.
trying?
Is-
I
the
rescind
ask
my-
is, hey, can
I
you use
second,
these
so they
things?
can make their own motion.
All right, so rescinding your motion and saying,
No.
motion,
What?
The second
Commissioner
was
Flowers
rescinded.
Taylor rescinded her second, so now you have a motion with no second.
all right. Who?
Which is just
you-
So
you
they
made the
can make the motion to be
You're
whatever they want.
rescinding? Yes, all right. Now, somebody make a motion to waive it for Doc Holliday this year.
We still have a motion to approve their ask to waive all those things. That's what they're coming
So
for us
there's a
tonight
motion,
is saying, hey,
there's a motion
let
for
us
that.
use these
I'll
and not
second
charge.
that motion.
All right?
I-
Yep,
I
I'm
motion to
good with
approve that. She
All right.
rescinded her second, she gave us a second. We've got a motion.
Any
and a
more
second
discussion?
To approve.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say that just because you sit on the development authority doesn't mean that you can make decisions for the authority. I don't care how many meetings you sit up in, if you are not on the organization that is making the decisions and the policy, you having a conversation by yourself or you having a conversation at your meeting does not equal Kelly being in the know about everything.
No.
Now I'm done.
That's true.
We have to, our job is to take that information and make sure it gets back to Kelly, whether we designate somebody who's on that board. All right. Last minute, any last minute discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4, all those opposed, 1, motion carries.
I do have one quick question. We have, last 9 years, we've listed you as a partner. Is it still okay to do that, or do we not?
We want to be
Yeah,
listed.
I
just
guess
gave you
we are
$2,000
partners
and
now
stuff. Yeah,
because we're
absolutely.
letting
Okay. I'm
you
just
not
making-
pay money to use a
I
facility.
just want to make sure.
We've been for the last 10 years, right?
Yeah, and we
our
appreciate
name
being
on
a
there.
part of all the planning steps for every part of this,
All
as
right.
per our policy.
Report of the county manager?
Nope, number 5.
Oh, number 5,
Yeah, that was an amended.
yes.
The RFQ.
The RFP, do I have a motion to approve the county manager getting an RFP out for?
We're just asking for the RFP.
This, all we're doing is asking for how much it's gonna cost. This does cost us nothing.
I'll motion to approve, but I do have some discussion.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
What happened with the sheriff and the district attorney asking the GBI to?
So I want to give kudos to our sheriff.
Oh, yeah.
The sheriff did a great job at requesting the GBI to come and support us for a forensic audit. And Sheriff, if you don't mind, if you could come up and share the findings. The sheriff was very gracious and afforded me the opportunity to participate in the discussion. But Sheriff?
Good evening. After the commission meeting the other night, I contacted Special Agent in charge, Fred Wimberly, of the GBI, and arranged a meeting with him. I met with him and the ASAC from that unit, Diana Jury. Dr. Ledbetter was there. We met at the sheriff's office and made the request that if by the 29th which was the deadline. If information had not been turned over, that the GBI had them come in and conduct a forensic audit and an investigation into any missing funds. I also spoke personally to Ms. Hollums and explained the gravity of the situation to her. And I think she completely understands that. And as far as I know, she is moving forward with trying to get the information to you. If that doesn't happen, then I will contact Agent Wimberly again and see what they can do. One of the issues I think that the GBI had at this point is that their forensic unit that handles those types of investigation right now is at 3 people. They have cases that are backed up, and there would be an extensive time before it could be done. Dr. Ledbetter explained what we were looking at a cost, and Agent Wimberly, Special Agent in Charge Wimberly, asked if we could contact them after the county had an audit done. It would make the investigation go much faster because there may be a delay of up to 2 years before an audit can be done, and now that's absolutely out of the question. It was a very productive meeting. I think it cleared a lot of ground, cleared a lot of the air about what's going on, and I think that also goes for my meeting with Ms. Hollums, because I explained to her the alternatives of what could happen if she did not cooperate, turn over the information to y'all that was supposed to be turned over.
So either wait 2 years or go ahead and ask for.
First, let's find out how much it's gonna cost to be.
Let me also ask you, why are we doing an RFP instead of an RFQ? In the RFQ to ask for what you can do?
So the qualifications, the way that we've structured the RFP, and I'd love to get your input on this, Stephanie. The way we've structured the RFP is we're calling specifically for CPA firms who have past experience in conducting forensic audits. That's going to exclude the majority of the CPA firms in Georgia. We will wind up with only just a handful. So this affords us the chance to move through the RFQ straight to an RFP to understand both their qualifications and the pricing for how much it's going to cost moving forward.
So they will give their qualifications in the RFP?
They will be asked to provide those in the RFP. So it just streamlines it from a 2-step process to a 1-step process.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Do we know how much it's, oh, no, he's asking.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay, so yes,
You have a
You already have a
motion.
motion.
You have a
Chairman.
motion and a
I'm
second.
sorry, thank you. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion carries. Item number 11, report of the county manager.
Uh-oh, what am I?
Thank you.
Oh. Never mind.
Uh-oh.
It looked kind of funny in
That
there.
appears to be the wrong one. So please forgive me. It appears that we have not, my fault. I've not added the information on here, but I do want to share with you a couple of things. The chair and I had an opportunity to go last week, Thursday and Friday, to the Archway Summit, and we covered a litany of items. A few things that we discussed were generative AI and cybersecurity, housing, communication, and economic development was a part of that discussion as well. If you are not familiar with one of those individuals who's sitting in the audience, Ms. Shanisa is sitting with us this evening, and thank you very much for being
Raise your hand so
here.
everybody can see you. Thank you.
Shanisa is our Archway professional.
Stand up, Shanisa. That's not a whole lot. Thank you.
And it's great to have her here this evening. But it was good discussion. I won't spoil the one thing that I believe the chair is going to have a conversation about with respect to one of the breakout sessions. So let's see, what was the other things? I had a list of things. Please forgive me. I had it on the screen, but apparently it's the wrong one. But
We'll come back to you.
yeah, please come back to me. But just
Come back to you.
it was good discussion last week, and it was a privilege to be able to attend.
All right. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Johnny McDaniel, for doing that presentation. You may have saved me. As you know, I was tasked to do the first video and kind of came to you and got some preliminary figures. Hopefully, those figures were not correct. Hopefully, with these new, was it GMA and also GMOS and Eagle View and some of these other things and new technology, and we're able to kind of work together and hopefully to kind of get some of these assessments down. That's very important. So when we talked about transparency being everything, that's the reason why we were actually doing this. So looking forward to you to coming back and giving more accurate numbers there. But I'm telling you, I mean, I would love to have our own special committee here to look at this $8 million you're not getting for these tax exemptions. I mean, I'm really having heartburn over that. I mean, I would almost like to have a committee task.
8 million, like
He's-
800.
800.
800
I
million.
think I heard 8 million, but 800 million? What? Yeah, we need to have a special group. I mean, really, honestly, tasked to kind of look at this. I mean, not to say that you all, can't, aren't able to do it. Your manpower's down lower. We get that, but it might be worth it. You to kind of have someone kind of take a look at this to see. It's a big deal, and that's money we're not getting. We know that, and not everything is a church, not everything is a government entity. So, we might be able to find a few million in there that unfortunately do not need to be in there, and that needs to come back on the tax roll so we can actually collect for that. That's it. I mean, and I can appreciate, like I said, the discussion regarding the Doc Holiday event. Like I said, I mean, I totally understand what Commissioner Flowers Taylor is saying. She sits on that Leisure Services Board. She does her job. She's all about policy. We know that and I can totally appreciate that. Just with and I'm just going to say, with this being such a community event, and that we've been at the table with them for the last 10 years, I would hate for us not to be part of it for something that's such a wonderful event for the community. So appreciate the rest of the board for us approving that. That's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Dutton?
The mayor of Orchard Hill and the city council wanted me to express their thanks to the board tonight for approving the signage that's going to go up. They're going to move forward that as soon as possible, so I'm excited to be there for them for that. I just want to talk up once again how awesome of a county manager we have, and how much we support him as a board, and just all the decisions that he's making are just home runs, if not grand slams. So even when he bunts, he gets to second. So there are a lot of things that are happening that are just out of everybody's controls. These fire trucks. I mean, there's no operating procedure that could have been changed. We have literally the best fire chief in the state. There wasn't a mistake made. It was, we just need to skip January from now on, I think. That's, how much worse all of these things would have been without them, without our awesome fire chief, without our amazing sheriff. I can't imagine the hardships the county would be going through. I mean, we're not going through, a field of daisies right now, but like how many orders of magnitude it would have been worse if we didn't have the right people in place. So I just want to thank them again for being there for us. And that includes our, emergency response chief, our fire chief, just fantastic. Next Monday night, the fire chief, in fact, has invited me. They're doing a nighttime training in the Peachtree City Burn House. So I'll be joining them for that, and taking Tuesday off to recover, because I'm not young enough to be in those suits. But he has asked, let you guys know if you guys want to join us, get in the firehouse at night. No, surrounded by fire. It's not really.
We have our rep.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's all I've got tonight.
Okay. Commissioner Flowers Taylor?
I'm just a little interested in what our liability is about someone being in a firehouse fire without being trained. But anyway, I wanted to ask a question, Steve, for you to look at whether or not the tax assessor's office could be a recipient of impact fees. And the reason that I say that is because we have huge numbers of housing coming on. I mean, we say you can have impact fees for people moving in. Well, as soon as a house comes in, it becomes under their purview to work on. I know we've not tried to look for impact for them, but certainly if they were able to be fit into that, because every time a new house comes in, it impacts their work. Maybe that would be able to help them to have money to be able to hire people, to do these mass assessments. Clearly, it costs money to do them, but we just need to try to look at another way to help generate money for them to be able to go ahead and do that. So if you would, look into that for us.
Yes, ma'am.
Good thought, good innovative thought.
My question is, are we still having an archway? I mean, are we ready to graduate? I saw the list on the paper about the alumni. What are the qualifications for being there? And I say this because I don't recall anything that we've done in the last 2.5 or 3 years. So, you know, not that the money was wasted, because we were able to get those services. And if it's just about getting those services that UGA provides, then I'm fine with that. But in terms of us meeting as a group, finding something that is going to be meaningful for this community, I've just not felt that. So I'm just kind of wondering if we need to really step back and look at this and see if this is really where we need to be, or how do you get to be an alumni? What does that mean, in being an alumni? Does that mean you can come back to the table and ask your mama for some leftovers? or are you done? But yeah, I'm not feeling it. I don't know how the city, I know several months ago when they were mad at us, they weren't interested in it either. So I think it's really, we need to assess where we are. Will this year's budget, and I have not heard anyone say, are we planning this year's budget with the idea of doing roadside pickup? No one has said. It is a huge amount of money, and if we want Steve to structure the budget based on that, I feel like it's appropriate that we should give him some direction on that. Have you had direction on that, Steve?
No, ma'am, I've not had direction on that, but that is what the week of April the 8th through the 12th will provide us. We are going to come to you as departments and ask for your direction. That was on the calendar for the budget for this year. That is the first week session that we will stand before you, and then the week in May will be the second week that we will come back presenting what the final numbers will be.
You said April 8th through 12th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, April 8th through 12th, you said that's what it is?
8 through 12.
I don't know if I'll be here.
I won't be here either.
That was on the calendar.
We all approved that weeks and weeks ago, but,
That was before I knew it was gonna be an eclipse.
oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry.
All right, well-
But anyway, so yeah, I will be available by Zoom or whatever it is that we got. But
Awesome,
yeah,
thank you.
Okay.
Maybe I will.
Anything
so
else?
yeah, I just thought that we need to know whether or not that's what you need to do. That's
Yes,
it,
ma'am.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Vice Chair?
I too would like to thank Johnny McDaniel and the tax assessors. I see Mr. Joe Bailey was here earlier. Y'all some brave guys, get up there and try to explain this. I know y'all catch it. But that's steps of educating people, and then transparency, just to show them they can figure out what's going on, and it shows how the state mandates certain things that we don't have any control over. I'd like to bring up about the Spalding app. I know I said something the other week about love to see it more on Facebook. Well, Public Works got out there and showed off last week and started filling in some potholes. And I actually sent like 6 different Spalding requests myself, and every one of them got done. I've seen several other people that are getting involved, like Mr. Middlebrooks there. He'd made a comment, everybody's like, oh, that's great, we're getting our potholes filled in. And he said, well, if you use the Spalding app, it works. Well, it does work. Now, you probably noticed a increase just by it being posted on the discussions and stuff. So, I mean, probably a big increase, because a lot of people are using it now.
Talk about how many we did.
I can't tell you how many we did. I can tell you that every person that was breathing over in Public Works was working to repair potholes last week. It was a mass drive for last week to include TJ Emberger had 2 containers of mix in his truck, and he was physically out filling potholes last week.
And that's something a lot of people don't know too, is the weather-wise. We finally got a steady temperature that, allowed us to do it. With the cold weather, you can't use the mastic machine and stuff. It's gotta be a certain temperature.
That's correct.
All right, anything else?
No, I'm done. No,
Okay.
I'm done.
I want to talk a minute about a couple of things. First, I want to talk about the ACCG Legislative Breakfast. I think there's a slide for that. This is so Steve and I went to represent us at the Legislative Breakfast. These are the things that the bills, and if you look at the last little bit, you'll see the ones that ACCG, which stands for the Association of County Commissioners, Georgia, are either supporting or opposing, and in some cases neutral for. This is a big issue that impacts us. Some of them we are very, very much against. Some of them, like ACCG, we're neutral on, and some of them we're pretty much for. As an example, John Burns came, who is the Speaker of the House, came and talked about what's going on. The key thing for me was he had $16 billion worth of surplus. That's a whole lot of money. And we're trying to make sure that our representatives and senators are looking at us, and we're telling them this is where we would like for some of that $16 billion to be able to go. The Lieutenant Governor's legislative liaison was there and talked about the tough conversations that are going on across the board. Kevin Tanner, who is the Commissioner for Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, was there. He's the heart and soul of mental health across there. I had an opportunity to see and spend some time. I think there may be a picture of the two of us together to be able to do it. It's amazing. There's Kevin Tanner, Commissioner Tanner there. It's amazing the things that he's looking at and the things we're talking about. First thing he wanted to talk to me about was his pay study, which is the exact same thing that we're talking about as we're trying to get done. The second thing is bed space for people who are having behavioral health issues. He doesn't have manpower to be able to do it. So I had an opportunity to pretty well walk through with him what our needs and desires are. He was most receptive. He had been a county manager 2 different times, so he understood exactly what we were trying to talk about. Russell McMurray was there, who is the Commissioner for Department of Transportation, and he has gotten $1.5 billion, the most he's ever had, to be able to take care of infrastructure stuff throughout the county, throughout the state. The big news, as far as I was concerned at that time, was he had $98 million for airport stuff all the way around the state, and he was giving us $47.2 million to take care of our airport. That is a huge win for us, and we're very, very pleased, and I wanted to make sure that I shook his hand and said thank you to him for that. And a little bit later on, he did such a great job that we didn't have to do any match funds to be able to do that, which is another big issue beyond what we could dream possible. The Director of Community Development was there and talked through what his priorities were all the way around. Let me shift gears now. It was a great opportunity for us to do handshaking, to get around. Our county manager seems to know just about everybody that was there, and walking around shaking hands and talking about the needs of Spalding County, which is a good thing to be able to get done. Let me shift gears now and talk about some things that happened at the Archway Summit. Here are a couple points that I thought were interesting that were made in the first thing that was done was talk about the state of the state. Here's the population issue that they talked to us about. We are an extremely concentrated state. Should know that. We talk about the big cities, Atlanta, metro area, and then we talk about areas where we're farming, have almost no people. We are an aging state. We're getting older in our state. Births in our state are down. Births are later for the females. It used to be that most of the females had children when they were 25, 26, something like that. That's moving into the 35 age bracket. What causes the birth rate to go down is as they start having children at 35 versus 25, we have less opportunities for children to be done. We have 41 what we call metro counties and 118 rural counties. We also talked about, as you heard, the folks from the different there are 8 counties that are Archway. The return on investment for Spalding County, $476,131. That's return on investment for what we put in and what we get back. Now, how do we get stuff back? We get stuff back from using their students. We would say to them, as an example, we have a road intersection here that's not right and not safe, and we need something done about it. They go to the department, their engineering school, and a group of students, along with a professor, make that a 6-month project. Everybody at UGA who's graduating has to have an experiential training. That means they got to go do something. We've seen it for 30 or 40 years with teachers going and teaching in the classroom. Now they're having, everybody else has to do it. So those engineering students come out and they take a look at the intersection, and their work is to draw to a specification that we can turn in 35% design to get done and tell us how much it's going to cost and do stuff like that. They have done a ton of those for us for the tune of $400,000. That alone, as you heard Commissioner Flowers Taylor, is invaluable to us to save us money to be able to do it. So that was another good session, and we got to talk to people who are in exactly the same situation we are. I want to show a short video. This is not of Spalding County. This is of Hartwell, which is just another county that is doing Archway. We'll see if it all comes up. It's about 3 minutes long, so it won't be very long.
Recently, Hartwell was named Downtown of the Year by Georgia Downtown Association. A lot of the projects that we submitted as proof that we should be considered were Archway projects.
Through a community-based faculty member, Archway Partnership connects Georgia communities with University of Georgia resources to address locally identified challenges. This mutually beneficial exchange provides valuable research opportunities for faculty and real-world learning experiences for students.
I call Archway the leadership team of Hart County, but Archway does it to not receive credit, but they come up with the vision of what needs to be done to improve our city and our county, and how do we improve the quality of life for everyone here. And then they quietly go about engaging people to make those things happen.
I was blessed to be on what they call the Dean's Advisory Council for the College of Agriculture at the University of Georgia for about 8 years. And in 2007, Dean asked Dr. Beverly Sparks to tell our group about the Archway program. And I listened, and it just made sense to me. It was just so practical. Called a couple of friends of mine, and we met here on the porch, believe it or not. And I described to them what I'd heard. So we had a community meeting, and it was decided that we'd like to bring Archway to Hart County. From an economic development perspective, it's been pivotal for us, I think, because one of the first things that Archway did was to do the community needs assessment. Education came out as the single largest need in our community. And so at that point, I think our high school graduation rate was about 65.5%. Now it's been over 95% for at least the last 7 years.
We have a great partnership with the University of Georgia. We get students here that can do real-life projects that certainly we could not afford in our city or county budget, and we get those valuable resources, but we're able to give them experiential opportunities.
People see a lot of visibility from the Archway projects. That intrigues people. They see that activity going on. It's vibrant. They have these young people with so much enthusiasm come to town and to help beautify the place for us and to help improve the quality of life for our folks.
Thankful for Archway because it brings community assets together that normally wouldn't work together. We work in parallel with each other, but we don't necessarily get together and hash out long-term planning. And that opportunity to do that in a directed manner with an Archway professional really makes the system work well.
They bring everybody to the table where one individual could not. And to me, that is their greatest accomplishment.
I like that old song that says, all of us are better than any of us.
Just an example for everybody to be able to see, this is what Archway is all about. It just happens to be about Hartwell. We could just as easily do it for Spalding County. It's exactly the same. All right. Anything from the attorney?
Just to let y'all know, if you don't, that the Board of Elections met this morning and certified the election unanimously.
Okay. Anything, county clerk? Okay. Okay. Item number 13, consultation with the county attorney or other legal counsel to discuss pending and potential litigation, settlements, claims, administrative proceedings, and other judicial actions brought or to be brought by or against the county or any officer or employee, or in which the county or any officer or employee may be directly involved as provided by OCGA 50-1421. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
I have a second? Second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. We're in executive session. We will come back out, but you may not want to wait for that. Usually it's just an adjournment.
All right, we're back on?
Motion to come out of closed executive session, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 4-0.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a
Second.
second.
We have
All
that
those
one.
in favor, raise your hand. We're adjourned.
Oh, I need a break. Reagan,
9:20.
Reagan, excuse me, did you get that? Did you get that?
That's, always gonna be a quick one here. See you, dear.
Yeah, that's what I told my husband to.